On a February morning, it is hot and dry as fishermen wade through the Ngada River. Sailing through these calm waters, they are at peace, one with nature, away from the hustles of city life. Here, native Kanuri girls sing at a makeshift fish market. Their rhythm seems almost in tandem with the ebb and flow of the river. In Konduga local government area of Borno State, northeast Nigeria, fishing and farming have been the mainstay of the Alau community for centuries. Early settlers were drawn by the promise of fertile land irrigated by the Ngada River. Here, fishing is more than just a source of income. It is a way of life and means of survival.
Da dai muna aikin lambu ne, sai abokanan namu suna wannan aikan na kifin muna ganin su. To daga na lokacin da suna yi muna gani suna samu ne. Dalilin da ya samu ka shiga. Kuma alhamdulillah da mun shiga mun samu.
The other edge of the river, farmers till the soil. In the dry season, they plant rice, onions, and a variety of vegetables. And when the rains come, they plant maize, millet, corn, and beans. All year round, farming and fishing stimulate the local economy. But perhaps even more essential for the community's existence is the Alau Dam's water supply.
Shankawa ne mun shuka nan din, amma lambun ba shankawa kare bane muna yi. Nan din ya kai goma. Abun da yanayin da muna aiki a dankali muna aiki da abun nan da tasai da abun nan barkono da albasa duk muna aiki.
In September 2024, one of the worst floods in 30 years devastated the people of Borno State in northeast Nigeria. Alau Dam, a major water reservoir in Konduga local government area, is about 15 kilometers south of Maiduguri. It was constructed in 1984 to suppress floods and also serve as a water source for irrigation and domestic use. Seasonal rainfall from the Ngada River is a major source of water for Alau Dam. In the rainy season, the dam often swells to the brim and declines in the dry season. At full capacity, the dam contains the same amount of water as 112 million football fields filled with water 1 meter deep. That same amount of water will fill 44,800 Olympic-sized swimming pools. This is the big ditch created after the collapse of the Alau Dam in Maiduguri, Borno State, which caused one of the most devastating flooding in the history of Borno State and the entire Nigeria. And as you can see here behind us, this is what remains of the barrier which was collapsed by the huge flooding. And there is concern that a lot of people have lost their source of income. Farmers were affected and fishermen as well are counting their losses. But there is a biggest concern regarding the issue of rebuilding this dam. In the aftermath of the Alau Dam's collapse, and with a few weeks into another rainy season, Nigerians are asking critical questions about why the dam collapsed and what has been done to prevent another disaster.
Over the years, if the maintenance was regular and concerted and sustained, then the dam wouldn't have collapsed, because the silting, as we speak now, the dam has carried a lot of silt to the extent that 50% of its capacity, or even more, of its carrying capacity is decimated. It cannot carry as much water as it was meant to carry. So the silting is the key. Then the building of the dikes and the obstacles is also another, the initial design it can no longer hold. So the federal government, Federal Ministry of Water Resources and the Lake Basin Commission, they have done their own models on how to rebuild it.
For expert insight, Trust TV visited the Department of Civil Engineering at the Modibo Adama University. Yola, Dr. Emmanuel Gazama is a geotechnical and geoenvironmental engineer. He has been studying dams since his days in the university in the 90s.
For the dam constructed as far back as 1984, now the failure is manifesting. I wouldn't know, I wouldn't conclude, but 40 years is not a small period. The possibility is that maintenance may have been an issue. Activities around the dam may have also been a factor that may have resulted in failure of dam. And if you talk of maintenance, you look at what are the things that may be subjected to some distress in the dam. The embankment. Attention has to be given to the embankment. Pressure build up in the water body towards the embankment can send some warning signals for failure.
Houses in the Alau community were not affected by the massive flood triggered by the dam's collapse. The reason is simple. The community lives on a higher ground and the flood direction is away from the settlement area. However, hectares of farmlands were destroyed. The fishing and farming calendar has been disrupted. It will take years for the local community to recover. 30-year-old Modu Bashir now cast his net into a small pond around the collapsed barrier of the Alau Dam. The fisherman struggles to make a catch. The process is taking longer than expected. This is just one of the negative impacts of the Alau Dam's collapse.
Kafin ambaliya abun da muna kama kullum kilo 2 ko 3 muna kama. Yau din abun da muna kama kilo daya ne kullum muna kama. Suna saya za mu sayar kifin mu, za mu kai gida, yara mu da duka daya, za mu ci kullum da haka ne. Yanzu ba da yawa, yanzu kadan ne muna kama.
Me yasa?
Suna da ambaliya ya bolle, suna gudu suna tafiya kifin ma gaba daya. Shine yasa muna kama kadan.
In these small fish ponds, only tiny fishes can be found. The bigger fishes have been washed away by the flood. But even more worrying for fishermen is the possibility that they have lost variety of fish species and will need concerted efforts to reintroduce those species after the dam is rebuilt.
Kafin ambaliya muna samun kamar daro 10 wannan zai kai 100 da wani abu, amma yanzu bai wuce daro 1 ko 2 ba. To biyu ne yanzu shine mun samu shine 10, 15, 10, 15 haka ko 17 ko 16. Wani lokaci ma ba za mu samu haka ba.
At the level closest to the people, women led a microeconomy. The Alau Dam created an inclusive market where women traders bought fish from the local fishermen and then retail to consumers. Yakaka Ibrahim is in her 30s. She is one of those women who used to make ends meet from fish sales.
but since the collapse of the Alau Dam, she has had a difficult life.
Da irin na 10,000 irin na 9,000 6,000 na zamu siya. Yanzu idan ba mu da shi din zamu je mu karba akan bashi. Idan muka karba, idan muka zo muka soya zamu sayar. Idan muka sayar zamu kai kudin su, abinda ya rage akan riban shi din zamu yi amfani da shi.
Kamar na nawa yanzu kuke?
Yanzu ba zai kai na 2,000 ba. Dan saboda ba mu da shi din. Kifin ya riga ya tafi. Dan saboda shi din.
Shi kayan gwari ne, lokacin da ya yi yawa zai sauka, lokacin da ya yi abin nan ya yi karanci zai iya hai. Shi ne ya kawo yanzu babu shi, mukan kama kifi har ya ishe mu a gurin nan mu shanya shi, amma yanzu kwata-kwata maganan shanya babu, wanda za mu wadatar da cikin gari ma babu shi.
While fishermen are reeling from the shortage of fish because of the Alau Dam's collapse, farmers in the community are thinking around irrigation farming to recover from the disaster.
Mun zo ruwa ya kare, ya tafi da gonakinmu, ya tafi da kayakinmu. Ba mu yi amfani, ba mu samu amfani komai ba. To, ambaliya da ya shafe mu, kuma ambaliya ya komar da mu baya. Sosai da sosai. Yanzu dai ta yi abin da mun yi na damuna da baya ne da shi muna amfani da shi yanzu. Na hanyar lambu kan babu. Mu injin da taki da iri da kudin jari shine muna nema. Ke tsoro na yanzu haka nan ba jaro ba, ruwan nan damuna yayi zai wuce, kuma ambaliya kamar abin nan baran zai na banan nan zai haka. Sai dai inda kyansa dai a zo a yi da wuri shine mu fitan mu.
At the peak of the floods in September, critical infrastructure, including the water supply system in the city of Maiduguri, were affected. Thousands of houses were submerged. 150 people were reportedly killed, with over 400,000 people displaced. Speaking on the impact of the flood, the Borno State government said the flood affected 2 million people. Before the flood, residents of Mafoni in Maiduguri were enjoying water supply from the Alau Dam. Although the flood did not reach here, but it blocked water pipes and plunged the community into a severe water scarcity.
Lokacin kafin ambaliya ya zo ya same mu, gaskiya ruwa dai alhamdulillah. Yau in ba su kawo ba, gobe za su kawo mana ruwa. Muna amfani da shi, gaskiya muna samun ruwa isasshe. Da iyalina da yarana gaba daya mu 8 ne. Kuma gaskiya lokacin da ambaliya ya zo ya shigo mana, ba ma samun ruwa, muna sayan ruwa fus 3 a rana. Kuma fusun kuma muna sayan sa a 1,100 da 1,500 ma a lokacin da ruwan yayi yawa. 1,500 muna biyan kudin fus. Yanzu ne da yake a lokacin kuma wutan ya zo ya lalace, ba a samun wuta, wasu bohol din da yake kusa da mu ma ruwan ba ma samu. To da yake yanzu da aka gyara wutan, muna samun dan saukin sayan ruwan. Naira yanzu dai muna sayan 600 700 har 500 ma idan muka daidaituwa muna sayan fusun 500. Muna cewa ma kaman za a yi mana gyaran moda kaɗin, shi gwamnatin ta ce a yanzu gaskiya ba zai yiwu ba, amma insha Allah abin da dai za a yi amfani da shi a cikin anguwa na bohol ko za a zo a yi mana cikin mafoni guda 5, kuma gashi mun yi sa'a an kawo mana bakin kofa layin mu, kuma an fara abin mun gani an zo an tona. Yanzu sun sa slab da kaman kwana 3 za su zo su sake sa mana overhead.
Rashin ruwa mun sha wahalan shi. Daga mun sha wahalan shi yau wata 5 zuwa 6. Kaji ba? Yauwa muna yi, ga yara suna yi da bokiti har muka gagara. Sai muka saya amalanke, kuskus ko sunansa. Yauwa, to da shi muke iba, kuma duk mutanen anguwan nan yawanci duk da nawa suke amfani, kuma sisin kwabo ɗaya ban samu na mutum na karɓa ba. In ya ɓaci ga yara na za su gyara.
Amidst the water scarcity in some parts of Maiduguri, residents depend on local water vendors for daily needs. This reservoir stores water from the state government water supply system sourced from the Alau Dam. Local vendors fetch the water from here and supply to residents, whose water pipes were affected following the Alau Dam collapse. The water vendors are also bearing the brunt.
Kam ambaliya da an fi aiki haga Allah tunda yanzu an su samu daman dawon gidajen su ma. Tunda yanzu waje da yawa zaka je ka samu babu mutanen ma. Ginin ne kawo abin da ya rushe na zai abin da bai rushe ba wanda suke halin ka suna zaune a wajen da. Kam ambaliya jarka da muna sai da 30 ne. Saboda nan akwai ko ina akwai ruwa. Yanzu kuma mun zo don minti awa da 30 minti 30 wani ma bai samu wani a wuni ma da kar zai hada sa uku. Yan ba kaman da akwai wuta, yan ba wuta a wuni ma ba za ka samu sa uku ba.
To sai nawa kuke sayarwa?
Yanzu dai ana sayar da 700.
Jarka ɗaya fa nawa ne?
50 ne kenan.
The flooding was severe and it affected infrastructure, including roads. The roads were totally dilapidated in those places. The water system, water pipes, the large pipes were also, broken. And the government, through the relief and also through the budgetary allocation, government quickly purchased those replacement, and replacement is ongoing. So in places like Meri and Muna and so on, water has returned. But in other places, they are still, our technicians are still working. But in places where the flood was not severe, Bulunkutu area, it's okay, no problem with their water system. And the road, schools were affected. We had to, rehabilitate the school. Musa Osman Secretariat, the nerve center of our governance infrastructure, was also affected. The, ground floor was completely submerged. We had to, rehabilitate the Musa Osman Secretariat and all the government facilities.
As the people of Maiduguri recover from the consequences of the 2024 Alau Dam collapse, critics have attributed the crumbling of the dam to the failure of concerned authorities to properly maintain the dam's infrastructure in the past 40 years of its existence. Public records on govspend.ng, a platform that tracks government spending, reveals that the federal government, through the Chad Basin Development Authority, paid over 290 million naira to 7 companies for the rehabilitation of the Alau Dam. The money was released between 2019 and 2024 before the September incident. But the question in the minds of some Nigerians remains, what is the nature of the contracts awarded to the various companies? Were the contracts executed properly? Could that have prevented the collapse of the dam? In search of answers, Trust TV reached out to the Chad Basin Development Authority, the custodian of the Alau Dam. However, there was no response as at the time of filming this documentary. In February 2025, the federal government approved the sum of 80 billion naira for the rehabilitation of the Alau Dam, scheduled to be completed in 24 months. Now, the biggest challenge remains that of implementing the first phase of the project as the rainy season sets in between June and July.
The approval for the construction of and rehabilitation of Alau Dam has been done by Mr. President, which is awaiting the ratification of the Federal Executive Council when all other due process are being observed to Infreds International Limited at the tune of 80 billion. The Borno State government is working with a subcommittee and members of the Nigerian Security advisory office that are working together to kickstart that project. And we are believing that between now and July this year, the first component of that work will be established so that this year there will be no flooding in Maiduguri again. Then the other component will commence as, that is the desilting of that dam, will commence by December this year.
As the reconstruction of the Alau Dam commences, the challenge ahead for the engineers is enormous, enforcing quality standards amidst pressing demands to avert flooding in the 2025 rainy season.
So if the contractor should mobilize in good time, he will still have to need some remedial work of possibly finding a way of diverting the water not to come along the dam axis where it will be constructed. But in terms of timing, by my own assessment, it is not certain that the construction will be completed before the commencement of rainy season. The core value of every engineering profession is quality. This is what I always advocate my students for. There is what we call specification in engineering work, in engineering practice. If a dam is to be built, what are the components of the things that should form the dam? In fact, in most cases, such specifications, there are tests that are done to confirm that it has to agree with the specification. Because there are some projects that has to be controlled through the quality control test to give the assurance of the quality. That is on one side. And in terms of concern, I know dam is a critical engineering infrastructure, and if specification is not kept, certainly it will show. It will be seen, either through the performance of the dam or any of the structural element in the dam. It will definitely show.
As residents of Maiduguri anticipate completion of the Alau Dam reconstruction project, the challenge for the Borno State government is to manage drainage and prevent residents from building structures on waterways in the city of Maiduguri.
And if you look at the topography of Maiduguri, the places where the waterways were cleared through concerted government effort, you know, in 2019, Governor Zuru went around and asked people to remove their homes from the waterways. So in places like Bulunkutu, we were able to convince the people to exit on their own. But in places like Shauri and so on, and Abaganaram, Lagos Bridge, people continued to build until the waterway shrunk to just 4 meters instead of like 12, 15 meters. So in those places, the flooding was severe and it affected infrastructure.
For the Alau community, reconstructing this dam means rebuilding the lost glory of fishing and farming, which has been the backbone of their economy for generations. On a larger scale in the state and across the country, the commitment to the Alau Dam project will be a test of the veracity of the social contract between government and citizens of Nigeria.